So this is a video about tearing down and rebuilding the top end of a Rotax 582. This one has a gear box, as you can see. It's a pull start only. And this is a blue head, but you can see we already have the motor disassembled. The blue head is also called Model 99, whereas the gray head is called Model 90. So if you're ordering parts, you'll notice that difference. And I changed some things on the blue head, I think surrounding the water system, or I don't really know. But anyway, if you're ordering parts, you'll have to know that difference. Otherwise, I think they're pretty similar, and I just want to walk through what this is and kind of what we're doing. Over here you can see on this side of the motor, that's where the carburetors go. And we've got them sort of hanging on the airplane still over on the back of an MXL Sport 2. This motor seized and in flight, which was quite exciting. And what happens when that happens, you can see the piston here, this seized, and you see the scratches on the edge of it, and it basically welded itself to the edge of the cylinder. So if I raise my finger across that, it catches. There's grooves on both sides. And so what happens in this case was the automatic oil system, which is this tank over here, is supposed to automatically proportion oil into the engine. And for whatever reason, we're not really sure why, but it didn't. It stopped doing that, and we don't know whether it's because this device here is the thing that proportions oil in. It has a throttle cable setting here, so when you give it throttle, it gives you a little bit more oil through there. This thing right here just lubricates this valve down inside of here somehow. And so that's not really like the two-stroke oil you add, really. This is just a lubricating thing. It's separate from this device. This device here actually adds the oil. So you don't have to mix your oil and gas. The problem is when it quits, this cylinder right here is at the back part of the motor, and the cylinder gets hot. This aluminum expands faster than the steel around it, and it basically creates a kind of a clamp type situation where it clamps from the inside out. So because of that, we had to take these cylinders down and have them bored, because they were slight ridges in the cylinder, and so you can't have that, because otherwise the gases bypass that, and two-strokes are really sensitive to that sort of thing. So we took both of these down. Notice they have a red dot on them, and the red dot is the lady at Lockwood explained it to me, but I kind of don't know really, but there's a difference between the red dot and the green dots. She told me this is what I need. And these cylinders, we bored them 20 thousandths over, or they call them second over sometimes, and that cleans up the cylinder wall and it gives you a nice smooth surface. So we ordered these pistons from Lockwood. California Power Systems is where I got all the rest of my parts from, and there's a guy there at California Power Systems. His name's Kevin. Super knowledgeable. If you get a chance to talk to him, he's a good guy. But anyway, this is the new piston. That's how they come. And you notice there's they're all shiny and new. So the old one is obviously very beat up, and inside this area here, we had to get the piston pin out. Here's the piston pin, and again, looks like it's been very, very warm. And in fact, before we pulled the top of this piston off, or the top of this motor apart, the old piston, see how this new piston rocks back and forth really nice and smooth? And you can see that rides on that little bearing inside there. Well, this one here didn't do that, so we had to replace these little needle bearings in here. And what you see is there's this tool. It's a little nylon piece of nylon thing, about maybe 5/8 in diameter. And if you don't push this inside that little hole, all of those bearings will fall out. And where they fall is right down into the hole of the crankcase. And if that happens, you've got a big problem, because they'll bounce around in there and you'll do a lot of damage to your motor. So that's one of the things that you have to watch for. And taking those pins out, you have to have a tool similar to this. A friend of mine had one and he bought one. And it kind of screws down and it kind of pulls through the piston kind of across there and pulls that pin out. That pin is really, really stuck. And the circlips, which you don't know whether you can see them, are really, really stuck in there too. They're really, really hard to get out. But anyway, he said that if we didn't have too much slap here, we didn't need to get into the crankcase. Crankshaft on his is about $1,500. And this motor otherwise is real. There's no play of any kind. It's in good shape. So basically, anyway, that's part of what we're doing here, trying to rebuild this motor. Might do another video in a little bit, but if you were wondering what's inside your 582, this is what's inside of there.